this is the most happening topic in all the banking and the financial institutions, right? So when you talk about analytics, it's the vast ocean. So it has lots of categories into it. So I'll try to cover as much as I can. So the first, in this, at least in this scenario, we're going to talk about how we are going to employ the various forms of analytics, like descriptive analytics, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, to combat fraud and to improve the compliance of any organization. Okay, so first I'll go into the agenda. The next screen, please. Okay, so this is gonna look like today. So first we're gonna talk about what the bank fraud is gonna look like, what are the expected bank fraud that's going on, and what are some of the analytics techniques that we are using. And one example that I wanted to explain is about the insurance claim fraud analysis and advanced analytics role in improving compliance. And then I'll leave it to you guys for Q&A. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So the common fraud that you can see in any banking financial institution would be payment fraud and identity theft, credit card fraud, and money laundering transactions, insurance claim fraud, insider trading, and invoice fraud. So whatever I have mentioned is only the less than top 10 categories, but you have n number of frauds and n number of frauds being categorized into risk types, right? So each of these fraud is an operational risk. So if you think about identity theft, so these days, I'll give you a small scenario how this is going on. So we all have account in everywhere, right? You have an account in Facebook, we have something in LinkedIn, we have a Gmail, and then some people have it in Tinder. Like, there are all possible places where we have our profile. So people are very smart, like whomever they wanted to steal your identity or something, they're very smart. They try to do a 360-degree profiling. So for example, like let's just take a name called, I'm just using a random name called Michael. Okay, Michael has a profile in Facebook. Unfortunately has the same name in Instagram, and he has the same name in his Gmail, and he has the same name in LinkedIn. So they will try to do a 360-degree profiling, and they will connect it all together. And there are some loopholes, right? We forget to hide things from people. So you may explicitly show your phone number, you may explicitly show your first name, last name, the places where you studied, the places where you are living, what is your favorite hobbies, and etc. So this profiling, what it does, it will come and give to the people, whomever is doing that, the result will show them, hey, he's the guy, call Michael, he has got such and such accounts in such and such bank, and then he is having this name in the profile, and this is his last name, and if you wanted to hack, you can hack. These are all the possible mechanisms, right? So that way, what happens, the people, like the people who are doing the fraud can easily identify your identity, and they will use it, and they will easily make all the possible tips that they could. So this is one example that I thought of showing here. So bank fraud, whatever I have shown here, is just less than 1% what is actually happening. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide, and then I will explain you how we can use advanced analytics to fight this. So when you talk about analytics, it's again another ocean ball. So you have multiple ways to tackle this. In the reality, or in most of the places, these are the top 10 algorithms that people use to hack some of the to protect some of the problem. So whenever there is a problem, what we have to do? First, you have to identify, right? And then second, you have to prevent it. And then third, you have to completely block it out. So all these algorithms will help us in a particular way to do all those activities. So for example, like you might have all known about this, like binary logistic regression. It's basically to identify the categories, right? We use this algorithm to say, hey, is this transaction is a fraud or a non-fraud? So based on various parameters. And neural network. In neural network, you pass bunch of input parameters, and you say, and then you have a hidden layer, and then you get into the output. Again, it helps you to say, hey, if this transaction is a categorical, or it is a fraud or a non-fraud, or what's going on there. And we have association rule analysis, K-means clustering, and organizing maps, and social network analytics. So there are two analytics that is very interesting. One is your social network analytics and one is your behavioral analytics. So social network analytics is what I told a few minutes back. So that is what we need to be very careful when you're creating a profile. So there is always this thing, like it will ask you to connect your multiple things, right? For like it would ask you, hey, do you want to connect your Facebook? I mean, do you want to connect one social networking site with another social networking site? We people do it because it will be easy for us to switch it. But that is the key role where all the entire networks are connected together, and using the 360-degree view or filter profiling, we can easily pull it out. And then the other one is your behavioral analytics. So using your behavioral analytics, you can easily find out the intention of a particular person. So for example, if your intention is to, I'll just give you two examples. So let's say if your intention is to apply for a job, what will you do? You will have your resume in hand and you will enter all the details. You'll be quick enough, and then you will go to the end page and you will submit it. So that it will show your intention. By the time that you have spent in the website, it will show your intention, how fast you are and how interactive you are. And another example is like you are trying to apply for some credit cards or you're trying to open some account. So let's say you're going to page one by one. You are reluctant. You do not want this credit card or something. You're going to stop it in a particular page. So it is going to tell you, okay, so this person is surfing around and he's just trying to see what are the various products. But some people who are in desperately need of any lending loan or something, they would complete their application very fast. And it will tell, okay, this person has interest in this product, and based on the time, basically you can analyze the analytics. So for example, if anybody who is trying to hack a website or potential, or let's say they are going to disguise themselves with an identity theft or something, their timing measurement will be a little bit slower than the actual person. So they have to think through, even for the small questions during the profiling, they have to identify. So those are some things that you can use to figure out from the behavioral analytics, right? So, and I'm going to share another interesting example in the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an interesting example. So where we are going to identify the insurance claim fraud detection. So insurance claim fraud, it's the most happening thing. Everywhere you can see this happening. So it involves basically some rings of fraudsters. So in the picture, if you see, there are lots of cars that are involved in the accidents, right? So car 1 and car 2, car 3 and car 4, and car 5 and car 6. So if you think about the fraudsters who are involved, you will have lots of participants in that. So they can be drivers, they can be passengers, and then you will have doctors, and then you have lawyers, and whomever saw the accident, right? So in this insurance claim, how it works is, at least from what I've known, so the participants in one section will also be involved in the other section. So these people will be looped again and again for fraud insurance claims. So that's why they brought this graph database. So this graph database, it will create a relational database, like it will create a structure and it will tell you, okay, this is incident 1, and these were all the participants, and these were all the people involved, and this is incident 2, these are all the participants, and etc. And finally, you will know if there is any common identifiers going on between them. It will try to pull up and it will give you. So that's where you can identify. This is what the graph database is used to interconnect the things and then create a relational database and to understand what is basically going on behind the scenes. All right. So similarly, there are so many such algorithms involved. Most commonly, any interesting pattern that you wanted to identify or any interesting visualization that you wanted to do, people go with social networking analytics, and then they will be going with behavioral analytics. And then binary logistic regression is mostly used everywhere. It is easy to categorize. Like I said, if there is suspicious activities going on in a particular accounts, right? If there is any particular like terrorism funding and all that, you can easily identify using the binary logistic regression. Okay, so next we'll get into the compliance. Okay. What is compliance? Compliance is like basically rules, basically law, basically procedures. So which which needs to be followed. So if there is a rule, if there is a law that needs to be followed, it has to be followed. So when you don't follow, what's going to happen? It's going to end up in risk. And the risk is otherwise called as the fraud, correct? So there are three forms of compliances. One is your regulatory and legal, which is very much. Sorry, what? Somebody said something.
Yeah, hi, Lavanya. If you could just adjust the screen a bit, so we're not able to see you properly.
Now, how about now?
Adjust it a bit more, if possible. Yes, that works.
All right. Okay. So now here the thing is going on, right? So like I said, compliance has got various things going on. So regulatory and legal compliance, IT compliance, financial service compliance. So this is the place where all the regulators, and the participants, everybody comes into the picture, right? So first, I'll tell you how this analytics is going to help play out in compliance, and I'll also give you how this risk is going to play a role here. So let's say whenever you are going to start a business, or whenever you're going to propose an idea, so this is what happens. So you will have to go through certain norms and procedures. You will have a tool that's called the operational risk. So in operational risk, you have certain steps that needs to be followed. First, whenever you're proposing a business, so let's say you wanted to start an e-store, right? So you have to identify what are all the risks that is involved in it. Then after that, you will put it into a system called RCSA, which is your basic, or which is your backbone of your operational risk. And then what happens is you will identify all the risk types and its impacts. And then you will identify like what are the controls that are needed. Then you will identify, if the controls are not in place, what is the loss amount, and if the controls in place, what's going to be the expected loss. And you can compare this with the same scenario that's happening in the external world. Okay, having said that, this is the scenario that will happen when you are starting a new business or a new venture. So where this compliance comes into place. So let's say you have some set of rules and controls that you need to follow. So one example would be you have to dispatch something not more than, like, you should not dispatch multiple deliveries in a single day. That is a rule or something, but you didn't follow. So what's going to happen if you missed out? So that is what the place where this compliance and risk come into picture. So to support this compliance, that's what we are going with the advanced analytics. So what we will do, we will have controls in place, and we will write algorithms to catch and tell them, hey, this is the place where the control was expected and the control is not placed. That's not working well. And this is the place where the control is the control is not going correctly, and you have to place a new control. So similarly, like the algorithms that I explained in the previous slide, it will help you to improve the compliance. Like, we have set of rules, so that will match with the algorithm, and it will run, and it will tell you, hey, what's going on? Okay. And then, so can we move on to the next slide? All right. So analytics is not just used alone in the in the risk or something. It's used everywhere. It's like we discussed about risk and compliance, but this analytics is used everywhere in your day-to-day life betterment, in healthcare, in students' life, even in games. Like, it's easy for you to even to predict a score, and even in day-to-day life, right? You can analyze where your expenses falling and how you are distributing your expenses. And even in healthcare during this COVID situation, it will help you. It can even help us in tracking where the COVID cases are rising, and much more than that. And also the possible segmentation among various vaccines, and even in students' life with the college and the projects, and how to land up in a good employment. Everywhere this analytics could be used. So I will leave it to you guys for further questions.